Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Everquest Old School. And on this episode we are over at the wall with my Cleric, and I'll show you what level he is real quick. We're in the middle of a fight, so we are level 11 with 3 and maybe 1/4 of a bubble into our level. Going pretty good. In about 2 hours we've gotten about 2 bubbles of experience. We are a little high to actually be here at level 11. A lot of these Centurions, not a lot of them, I should say about 30% of the Centurions here are green to us. So about 30% of the kills we get are not giving us experience, unfortunately. But that's fine because there's still plenty of stuff here that is. The Legos obviously continue to give us experience now. Preferably, I would like to get inside the throne room again. That was unbelievable experience in there. I believe I got like 2 levels in the matter of a couple hours in there. That's how fast that experience was. You can go back and watch those videos on my Paladin to see exactly how fast it was, but it was amazing. It was constant kills. Almost to the point where you have a hard time keeping up with the healing or the blasting because you're going through your power so constantly. The pools just one right after the other. It's not like huge pools like this just was where we had like 5-6 guys. You get 1, maybe 2 guys at one time, and then as soon as those are dead, literally as soon as those are dead, you had another 2 guys who spawn. You pull those, and as you kill those 2 guys, another 2 guys, and then another 2 guys, and another guy, and then another guy, and another guy, and it doesn't give you any time in between like this right here to breathe and med up and get a little buffer zone between you and death. It's just constant killing, which makes great experience, especially for the fact that you're not paying attention to just how long you've been sitting there. Crush bone shoulder pads. Let's go ahead and link those. Let people know they're there so they can go ahead and snag them. I don't think those were shoulder. Were they? Yeah, they're crush bone ones. I thought they were just regular ones. Another belt. Another shoulder pad. I'm getting over encumbered here. Another belt. A lot of belts for people to loot. And some junky, rusty stuff. Oh, wow, that's pretty heavy. So if we have to run for it, chances are I'm going to die. There's another guy here, Gaston, who is a little dwarf, and if you watch him run around, or try to run around at least, you'll see just how slow he's moving. He's incredibly overweight right now, and not because he's a dwarf, but just because he has so much stuff on him. So you got to make sure that you keep track of that. Let me look what... Oh, I got 800 copper. So that's the reason right there. Now, if you want to be mean or funny, you can do split. And the way split works is /split space, and then you have 4 zeros. You can have 0 space 0 space 0 space 0. And that will split 0 of everything with your people that you have. Now, each one of those zeros counts as a spot. Your first spot, 0, is your platinum. Your second is your gold, and then your silver, and then your copper. So if you just do /split 5, you're going to split basically 500 platinum with your group. If you don't have 500 platinum, I don't think it does anything because it's not smart enough to realize you don't have it and then split what you do have. But if you want to split 800 copper, you need to do /split space 0 space 0 space 0 space 800. And that will split your 800 copper with the group, which will immediately start yelling at you for making them all over encumbered, which is funny because then they may split it back to you, and the split just keeps going back and forth, and you may end up with even more copper than when you originally split because, they have copper on them. And when they get, 200 copper from you, and they split their 600 copper with everybody else, and they split theirs, and they split theirs, it'll make everything even almost to the group. Everybody will have the same amount of copper close to it, but it may be more than what you started with. So it's funny to do that occasionally, but you got to remember that that is a they worry there that you may end up more encumbered than before. No, you legionnaire, you punk. What are you coming after me for? Let me back up in slow motion. I'll do the moonwalk. You guys can put the music on in the background. Let's see, this level 8 Cleric right here, she's been looking for a group for a while. She got determination. She hasn't left yet. And I gotta give it to her on that one. I don't know if it's a real chick or not, but she's been sitting there waiting to get in. So the very first chance somebody leaves, I'm gonna toss her an invite, because that's something. You know, a lot of people will lose. My slaves are no more use to me. I shall give you keys to release them, or you may kill them. Whatever you desire may be. I wonder why she shouted that. That's obviously another player shouting. That's not like a... Because usually if it's a god shouting, it will say like Interrupt says or shouts or something like that. And that one just says Veronica shouts. Veronica's not a god as far as I know, that I recognize the name anyways. And usually when the god shouts, it's usually something horrible, not something cool. It's something like, you've disturbed me, now take my death touch and die. You know, something like that. Oh, there's Veronica right there. And she's blue, so definitely not a god. With that look and the outfit, maybe a stripper, you know, futuristic one or something. I don't know. They did make the game for dudes. I mean, that's literally all I can say about that. You can see the guys are dressed kind of regal for the most part. I shall destroy the slave keys. So I guess she was just giving them away, and she wanted to do her role playing. But you can see that the girls in this game, as they progress through, and I've kind of touched on this before in some of my earlier videos, they get less and less clothing. They become more and more skimpy, more and more revealing in all aspects. And it's kind of funny because when they first start off, they actually start off with more clothes than they do when they end the game with this great armor. Like my guy, butt naked, starts off with like a pair of pants and a tunic, whereas a girl starts off with literally like a G-string and a bra, and that's it. And as she progresses through the game, believe it or not, she gets like sheer clothing, like a teddy or something that you can almost see all the way through. And in my, you know, regards on that is that she's wearing almost less than when she started the game, because now you don't even see the bra and the G-string anymore. So it's definitely made for guys to have that eye candy, as they say, but you got to remember that not every girl that you see on screen is actually a girl in real life. For whatever reason, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against anybody playing whatever they prefer to play, but not a lot. I would say about 60% of the women that I've met online, or I should say 60% of the female characters I've met online aren't women, and the rest of them have been. But usually if it is actually a woman playing, you got to remember that most of the guys here, and I don't want to stereotype people because, you know, a lot of the time it's not right. A lot of people who play this game are married and have wives, but there's quite a few on here that don't. And when they find that there's a woman there, especially if they find that they're single, oh my god, that's... You want to talk about harassment? The guys will find any reason to talk to you, and a lot of the women actually use it to their benefit. They get in groups easier. You know, a lot of guys will give them gifts and stuff, but I think if I was in that position, I would just be overwhelmed with just how many, you know, tells and you just constant flirting and stuff with people that you don't know who they are, and you didn't, you know, ask for it. You didn't do anything other than talking in chat channel, you know, with your voice and letting them know that you're a female. So a lot of them will go above and beyond to never let you know that they are actually female. They will, you know, straight up lie and say that they're guys, and they're even mask their voice sometimes, and I can't blame them. You know, I really can't after seeing just you know how bad it can be. And I really saw that with EverQuest 2 when they initiated voice chat, and you'd have groups that I was in for hours. You know, you're just sitting there playing and you're having a good time and nothing's going wrong, and you get a new player in there, and then it turns out there's a female voice on voice chat, and all of a sudden everything changes. All the dudes in your group all of a sudden are hitting on her, and I just sat back and I'm like, oh man, this is tough to watch, because you can tell she's getting aggravated. And more than one time she would actually send me a tell because I'd be the only one not talking to her, and she'd be like, is this the way it was before I joined? And I'd have to let her know that no, it was not. I mean, this is not normal for them to be talking like that and doing these kind of things. If you're a guy out there and you have ever done that, my advice to you is don't, because they do not find it attractive one bit most of the time, and they find it a huge put-off to come on that strong. And I can barely even walk, which I'm sure they find completely and totally sexy to a guy who can barely move. But no, I mean, it's just, don't be so so forward. You know, take your time. I mean, there's no reason you can't have an online romance. There's tons of people who have done it. You know, met online, found they liked each other, and you know, had a relationship in real life, and even got married from it. But you know, you can't come on that strong. And if you see that everybody in the group is flirting with this person, my advice, be the one person who doesn't. You know, not because it will get you anywhere with that person, because it may not. Chances are it probably won't. But they be more likely in the future to group with you versus the other people, because they know that, hey, you're not one of the few guys, or you were one of the few guys who weren't just sitting there, you know, harassing them the whole time. So that's just my 2 cents on it. You guys can take from what you want. You're more than welcome to try your hand and your luck at you know, hitting on the girls in the game. But there's so few of them in the game that I hate to see any of them driven away, because they're just so overwhelmed with the guy factor. You know, so I try to make it as comfortable for them as possible, because I'm just psyched that they're literally playing the same games as I am. You know, I have my own personal life that doesn't affect the game at all, so I'm not worried about, you know, finding a woman online. But it just it stokes me to know that they're on, because when I first started playing like D&D, it was just dudes. You know, that's all we had, and that was perfectly fine. I loved playing with my friends in junior high and high school and stuff like that. It was great. And then when we had our first girl join, I'm like, it's a little weird, you know, because you haven't really done that with a girl. You know, you got out on dates and stuff like that, but, you know, actually incorporating the opposite sex into something like that you really, really enjoy can be a little weird at first. And then when you find out, it adds this whole nother spectrum, like things that, like, guys, for some reason, or for most part anyways, tend to think the same way. So when you're going through a dungeon in D&D, you'll get, like, the same ideas over and over again. And you throw a woman in there, and all of a sudden, you get all these brand new ideas, all these new perspectives that you never considered before. And it really adds, like, this whole nother side of the game that you were missing out on. It's amazing. And so I kind of look at it that way, as in just having them there to see their perspective, just having them there so they can contribute to the game is more than enough for me. You know, I don't have to go beyond that. So if you got a girlfriend or a friend who's a female and hasn't played these games and you're trying to get them in there, just be aware of the fact that they may get overwhelmed from time to time when people find out they're actually female. But you know, if you can get them into the game, so much the better. We love to have a more diverse community, whether it's females or different languages and things of that sort. It just really expands your mind and shows you new concepts and new ideas. And I remember I made friends with this one guy from Australia. Great guy. I used to play a lot real late at night because I would do my writing during the day, and then I would wake up, you know, at like 1 or 2 because I couldn't sleep, and I'd hop on and get on, and he'd be awake, you know, because it's you know, I forgot what the time difference is over there, but he was always on when I was playing real late at night, and we got to be really, really good friends, and he would tell me about, all the different things that are going on in Australia and the stuff that he does, and it's stuff that I would never hear about on the news. Like, it's just like mundane stuff that is kind of interesting, like what are the police doing, and oh, they're opening up a new shopping mall, and it's the only one in the area. Really, there's only one shopping mall in the entire area? That's pretty weird, and it's a big city. So not all countries are, exactly like your country, So it's cool to see the world through different eyes and different perspectives, and so the more people, more different kind of backgrounds that we can get into the game is fantastic. I remember I was playing Everquest 2 one Christmas, and I got the 70-inch TV I'm using right now, and when I got it, it was blurry. Like, it was perfectly fine when you played a movie or did anything like that, but the moment you hooked it up to a computer through the HDMI wire, it got really, really blurry to the point where I could barely read the text. And I just went ahead and asked in chat channel, I'll be like, hey, does anybody have any clue why it's doing this? And I got like 50 replies back from actual people who their profession is electronics in some way. Some of them are cable repairmen, TVs, all the way up to like professional spectrum of working on like NASA and stuff. And they're just offering free advice. Like, where else can you possibly just send out a shout out and within a matter of seconds get that kind of reply back from such a wide-ranging group of people that are just giving their information away that they normally would be charging, hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for their advice, So it's cool when you have that, because I used to do the same thing when somebody would, ask me or ask the chat channel on stuff that I knew. I would just go ahead and tell them. I wouldn't be like, oh, I'll charge you $9.99 a minute or something like that for, or a lawyer, it's $300 to get through the front door. People didn't do that. They just gave that advice away for free. And granted, you couldn't legally hold them to it, but you weren't trying to legally hold them to it. You're just trying to figure out a problem. And so, like I said, just having a bigger community with different backgrounds is amazing. And you'd be surprised that in the smallest ways it helps out in the largest in the outcome of your play game. And we got it fixed. They eventually told me that the direct video input would be better than HDMI, and the moment I switched over to that on my 3D card, all the problems went away, crystal clear, and I play it that way to this day. It saved me, because before that I was actually considering returning the TV. Like, the reason I wanted it was because I was going to be playing games on it, and if it couldn't hook up to the computer, I don't really watch TV that much. I don't sit down and watch reality TV, because that's the only thing on nowadays is reality TV. I'm not a huge fan of seeing somebody, sweating on an island or jumping through weird stuff on like The Amazing Race and things of that sort. So still, that Cleric is looking for a group. That's amazing. She has that stamina to do that. I know when I get on and I can't find a group within the first like 20-30 minutes, I'll switch to a different character. And if I can't find anything on any of them within like an hour, I usually will log off and switch to a different game and come back and do this one at another day, at another time, or something like that. So the fact that she's still on reminds me of like the old days when I would sit there at the entrance to Seb for like 8 hours looking for a group with my Shadow Knight and never get one, and I spend the whole time just basically watching a movie on the other screen and waiting for somebody to send me a tell. Camp check. Go ahead and call out the wall. Now, if you're the group leader, it's usually your responsibility to keep track of camp checks. Camp check is just somebody wants to know where the groups are. What's camped right now. If I put a group together, if I come in with a group, what's open. Now, they could easily just run around all over the place, but that comes with dangers too. If you want to be a butthead and not call out your camp, you got to remember that if people have to run around looking for it, they may indeed train you, and then everybody dies. You can say training is wrong and it's illegal and it may get you banned, and you may be right, but does that bring back your experience or your group who rage quit because they all died? No. And does that stop anybody else from doing it? Not necessarily, because when has crime and punishment really ever worked in the history of anything? I mean, people are going to do what they want to do no matter how harsh the crime is. So keep that and remember that it's there as like a luxury to make sure that stuff doesn't happen, to make sure that people don't train you, because now they know that that place is camped and that's good enough for them. Riddle is recruiting new members. Come be a part of a great and powerful growing guild. Message me if interested. So yeah, if you're looking for a guild, Riddle apparently is hiring new applicants, but keep in mind I know nothing about them, can't recommend them. I don't know if they're family friendly or if they raid a lot. Granted, they're looking for new members at a low level, so probably not going to be into raiding right now. If you go to Seb and then you find people recruiting there, yeah, maybe that is a pretty big guild looking for raids or raid people. The best guilds I've found are through friends. You know, if you grouped with somebody for a long period of time, you get to know them, you get talking to them, and then you know, they say, oh yeah, we gotta go raid what's his name tomorrow, and you're like, oh wow, that's pretty cool, you guys do that quite a bit, and then like they get into a whole spiel about what they've done and stuff like that, and then you find out, yeah, they raid nearly every week or every 2 weeks. And does that sound perfect for you? Maybe you want to raid every day, every night you want to go on a new raid. Maybe you want to raid once a week, once a month, once every 2 months. There's guilds out there pretty much for every kind of taste you have that raid on different schedules. Maybe you were logged on, you know, real late at night, so you need to find like a European guild who's kind of up later and starts their raids at like, you know, 10 or 12, you know, Central Standard Time or something along those lines. So, you know, just keep in mind that no matter what kind of person you are and where you live, there's chances are other people on the game just like you who want to play the game just like you do. So you just have to take a little bit of time and find them. Try not to get bogged down in one guild or another. I know a lot of people, when you first join a guild for the very, very first time ever, you become attached to that guild really easily. I mean, if you have friends in there, if you have a guild who is willing to answer questions for you, oh, it's incredibly easy to get very attached to the guild and be like, okay, this is where I'm staying. I don't care if they never ever go on another raid ever again, or even ever went on a raid. These guys are just too good to leave. Well, I understand that the first guild I ever joined was Amici way back when, and they were great. They were an amazing bunch of people, and they didn't really go on raids at the time I was in it. So what I ended up doing was joining a different guild with an alt, and then I would let them know that, hey, I also have a cleric, and I can't take them out of the guild that I'm in because I really, really like them, but if you guys want an extra cleric to join you guys, maybe I can build up some points with you, because it used to go by like points system, that every raid that you showed up to, you would get a certain amount of points, and then when something dropped, you could use your points to buy that item, basically. And if somebody else had more points than you, they could outbid you, and then they would get the item. So basically, it promoted people to show up to all the raids. The more you showed up, the more loot you got. The more loot you got, the more valuable you were to the raids which you showed up to. So it kind of evened itself out. Although it really just made it impossible for a new person to really ever get any piece of armor, because if a cleric had been there for, you know, 3-4 months, maybe even a year before you joined, and he's been going to raids here and there and building up the points, and hasn't been looting anything or spending his points on anything because, you know, he's been the only cleric, or he hasn't needed anything, well, then he has hundreds of points, and when something drops, he's like, here's 50 points, I outbidded you, here's another 50 points, I outbidded you. And for like 6 months straight, you're just trying to build up enough points to wear away his points. Like every time something drops, you're like, oh, here's 37 points. It's the amount of points you've like maxed out to go on, you know, that you've gotten for every raid that you've shown up, and then he has to match it. And so that's eating 37 points away. The next one you can throw down 40 points, and the next one after that 43 points, and so on and so forth. Before long, you know, he doesn't have any points, but it takes months for that to happen, and basically it sucks. Like the first 3-4 months you're in a guild, you can't get anything, and you're going on every raid every week, and that system has a lot of flaws, but for the most part, that's usually what people went with. Orc stuck in water hitting you, so he needs to move away from the water, and the orc will eventually come up. Did you fall in the water or jump in the water? Let's go ahead and heal this guy real quick. Doing pretty good here tonight, though. I think we're getting quite a bit of experience. About 4 bubbles in, almost 5. So we'll make this video a little bit longer. Maybe we can get to the 5th bubble, get a little level out of it, because I think we get our new level spells. Let me loot this stuff up. I'm already over encumbered. Might as well go the full 9 yards. I can't loot that. I didn't mean to loot that. I hate when I fall in. I send my pet. That's another belt. Another pad. Now normally I wouldn't loot any of this junk, but they're not looting it, so it's just going to waste. So I'm going to go ahead and pop some of this stuff up. Make sure there's nothing left on these guys. See if anybody wants that. Oh yeah, look at me go. This is gonna be crazy. Let's see. Where is he at? Where are the 2 of them at? They run into the zone or what? Let's see if anybody wants. Where are these guys at? Gaston's getting hit. Sure hope these don't come running for me, because that will be the end of it. I will die. And the worst part is when you die, you get spawned back where you're bound, which is usually close to town. But you don't do it with your corpse. Like all the stuff that was making you overweight is still on your body. So you run all the way back there perfectly fine, get to your corpse, and then you're over encumbered again. You know, like you could have just sold while you were there. But it's one of the reasons I love this game. We're in the castles healers. Where are you guys? Okay. Walking in at Let's see if I can get in there within the next year. Actually, that guy's gonna hit me, so he may end up killing me before I can get in. We'll have to see. Let's go. Move. This is ridiculous. Oh man. This is why you don't get this overweight. Let me go ahead and just destroy this. That didn't do very much. And I'm probably gonna die here, so I'm heading back out. This is just stupid. If they're in there, they're obviously not keeping it clear. Let his pet tank it. Go ahead and heal it up. Don't know how long it will last. It's not going to take hits nearly as well as it should. And then we got another Centurion coming. Back up. May just have to gate out if it gets pretty bad here. If this pet about to die, I'll just gate out, go sell real quick, and then come back. Because there's no point in dying. Like I said, if you die, you just have to come back and become overweight again. So let's see. Just let them know that there's a Lego at the door. Maybe they'll come out and help if they manage to survive whatever they're doing inside. And he's clearly healing it as well, the pet, anyways. So that's nice, because I'm pretty low on power. Let's see, what's the Lego at? 6%? Oh, we might win this fight. Maybe, if we're lucky. Toss it. There we go. And we had the ranger jump down and help us out. Okay, let's move on up. Back to wall after this. Okay. That was worthless. No! What are you attacking me for? I didn't do anything. Attack the pet. Little punks. I tell you, they hate clerics. I mean, you may be in a room full of like 6 other people, and there's like every other class you can possibly think of, and you haven't done anything to anybody. You haven't buffed, you haven't healed, you haven't done anything. And you're sitting right dab in the middle of the other 6 people who are surrounding you. And the mob will just run right into the door and smack you. Like, he bypasses everybody. He didn't hit you because you were the closest. He hit you because you were just... He hated you. Like, you were the ugliest guy in the room. He's like, I'm going to hit that guy first. You're the cleric. I'm going to smack you just to smack you. Like, he'll immediately switch targets and go back to the tank. But he decided that just because it was a nice thing to do, I'm going to hit you. So, it's amazing, but somehow they put that into the programming that smack the cleric any chance you get. Just smack him. Because you'll see it time and time as I play through this. I'm not imagining it. I've talked to other clerics, and they'll tell you the exact same thing. They get smacked more times than they care to remember. And they're not doing anything to provoke it. Literally, they're just like, just sitting there minding their own business, and they get smacked. Now that one I provoked it, but I actually move faster sideways than I do forwards. That's pretty weird. 12 mage, LFG. I am out of power as well. So both healers out of power. Now I probably wouldn't be out of power. Take some aggro, you lazy paladin. I probably wouldn't be out of power if we hadn't gone through that Lego all by ourselves. But then I can't really blame them because they went through whatever they were going on the inside all by themselves. I'll have to go back and watch the video. Maybe they mentioned they were going inside. I didn't see it if that was the case. Probably should have been paying a little bit more attention to that. But I don't think they did. I don't think they mentioned that. You can hear the spell effects actually get louder the closer you are to whatever's casting it. So if you're standing right on top of the creature, easy to keep aggro with snare, yeah. Laugh aloud, ranger tanks. But yeah, you'll hear that if you're standing like right on top of the fight, it's pretty loud. You may not be able to heal me very well. Whereas other days, I'll be pretty far away and maybe too loud. I don't know if the sound's off. Let me know if you guys want me to turn the microphone sound down a little bit. You know, I can do that as well, so you guys can hear more of the sound of the actual game rather than just me talking over it the whole time. But it really is quite a unique sound. It's beautiful. They spent clearly a lot of time getting that right, and they perfected it because, man, I still remember like the skeleton sound in this game from way back when, the little laughing, the zombies, the mummies. It seems like all the evil classes, they make these really unique, memorable sounds. Some of the other guys do too, like the orcs. They have that little grunting they make and stuff, but it's not nearly as good, I don't think. Okay, guys, I'm logging for the night. Thanks for the group. So let's see. We got a mage looking for a group. We also had that other healer. Let's see if she's still around, because I'd rather give it to her first. She put the time in. Let's see, where is she? I think she's not LFG anymore. Let me see. F-A-E. Where is it at again? So we can either do the mage or we can do the healer, and I kind of want to give it to her. Okay, so she got one. So we got the mage on the way, AFK some. So, man, I'm the only one healer. I'm the only healer now, so I can't be as lazy as I used to be. Not be paying attention. Of course, we're gonna have 2 mages, so that's gonna be nice. It's 2 pets and 2 casters, basically. So we're getting an extra 2 people that technically shouldn't have because of their pets. I mean, they're maybe not at this level. Their pets aren't that great, but you know, that pet just tanked a Lego pretty much all by himself. He did have me healing him, but even me tanking the Lego with another healer healing me, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So clearly he's a better tank than a healer. He's usually a better tank than most classes at higher levels. There he is. There you go. Let's see your pet. Now, usually people with pets like Necros and Mages will not always have, especially in a dungeon like this, will not always have their pets up when they join. That's because it costs like a reanimation nugget or something like that. The Necros cost like 2 bone chips, and I think the enchanters have to buy something from a vendor to get theirs as well. So, welcome. So they won't waste it because they may zone into this area to crush bone and not find any groups, and then leave, and then they lose their pet. So, oh great, this is gonna be nasty. I'm only at 40%. Not sure. Was that his pet that did it? It might have been his pet, but it's alright. I think we might be fine. The Warlord's kicking the out of Rat here, but hopefully we can keep him alive. 40%'s not a lot to work with. How on earth did that just happen? My pet was literally behind me. Ah, bathing issues. He did have a pet, and his pet decided to go down the other wall and around a corner, through a floor, up an elevator that didn't exist, and right into the lap of the Warlord. So, yeah, that was fantastic. My heals don't seem to be landing very well on him. He's taking a lot of hits. I am out of power. I hope he doesn't die. Can't heal him. I would say stay back, Ran. There you go, Ranger heal. He may be a paladin. I don't even know if Rangers get heals, to be honest, but that's funny. His heal was so small. I think they did like less than 1%. Let me bind wound. Save your mana. I think you can bind wound up to 40%. But it takes a while, and it's not good in a fight, obviously. You have to... yeah, okay. So you gotta, you know, build your skill up in it, because when you first get it, it sucks. And it uses a bandage every time you do it. Now, bandages are relatively cheap. You can buy them from NPCs. If you happen to find one that has them for sale, you know, go ahead and put it down in the comments below. Let people know where you buy yours. What's the name of the NPC? What zone? Just to let people know where they're at, because you may go to a certain town and go through everybody that you can find and not find anybody selling a bandage. It makes you have to travel halfway across the world to find that one NPC you know about, where there could be bandages pretty close by. And I do believe, was it monks maybe, can actually summon bandages, or they get a piece of armor they can summon it later on in the game. I know they seem to have an infinite supply at some point of bandages that they just really can take advantage of. And then they have that skill Mend to boot, which does a fair bit of life. I think it's like 40% of their life back with just that little thing, that ability. That comes back pretty quick. I remember there was a glitch back in the day that allowed that to respawn or pop back up every single time you zoned. So what what monks would do is fight at the zone line. Fight a creature. When they killed it, mend up, zone, mend up, zone back. Then if they have to do one more time, mend up, full life, go ahead and attack again. Where everybody else would have to sit there and wait for their power to come back up or their health to come back up, they were just really just killing machines, because they were taking advantage of that little bug. But even without that, they were killing machines. They were amazing creatures, amazing characters. I shouldn't say creatures, but they are kind of a creature in their own right because they don't, go by or abide by a lot of the other rules that a lot of classes do. Because for one, they don't ever loot because they just can't hold the weight. So they're different in that. I don't know what we're doing for the rotation anymore. It's going with Anarch level. Yeah, it's Anarchy basically, but yeah, they wouldn't abide by a lot of the different rules that a lot of the other classes do, and they were just so different, and they play their class so differently, and they go to a lot of the zones that most people never go to, and you'd see them occasionally in groups because they're just amazing pullers, but beyond that, the personality usually behind somebody who plays a monk is that, not that they're better than everybody else, but that they know more than everybody else, and they go places that most people don't go to. And so when you get them in a group, they're like, oh yeah, I can do that. You don't need to explain the rune to me. I got it. Or yeah, let's go do this, and then they go there and they just jump right in. I'm like, what are you doing? And then they fatigue death, and you're like, okay, well you survived, but now you got 40% life, and they hop back up, and they got 2 more guys, and before long they like split a room that was like impossible to split, and somehow magically managed to pull only the named, which is like the hardest feat that you can possibly do for a room. And it's amazing they would just jump in and do that, and you're like, where did that skill come? What have you been doing by yourself to get that good? Usually I would assume that you got that good from being in a group, but no, these guys came to groups already with that skill. So I don't know if there's some training ground that they had back in the day that monks went to, or there's some like school of information they shared with one another, but it was something amazing to behold when you got those monks in your group. It was always like that special, okay, what are these guys going to do to completely and totally blow your mind? And usually get you killed a couple of times in the process, but then you're thankful that you have them because they do something so amazing that you've never seen done. So it's kind of cool. I mean, every class brought something different, and that was one of the greatest things about this game that I loved, is just being completely and totally surprised when you felt the game had nothing more to offer. Like, you've gone everywhere and you've done everything, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, poof, there you are, something you've never seen before, and it opens up this huge aspect to the game you didn't even know existed. And all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I'm a noob again. Like, how did that happen? Why didn't I know about that? Like, by the time you get close to being maxed out level, you feel that you know your class really well. You've been in countless groups. You pretty much mastered it. You're good to go. And then all of a sudden you're in raids and everything changes. I mean, grouping is one thing, soloing is another thing, and raiding is something completely different that uses aspects from both and none of them at the same time. It's weird to explain because you work together and sometimes not at all. And you got to worry about time and buffs. I mean, sometimes the weirdest things. I remember there was one zone that we went to that you had to make sure that you cast your cure poison like every 3 seconds. Not check to make sure that he had something on him, but literally every 3 seconds cast your cure on everybody, period. Just do that in rotation of your hero spells. And if you did, everything worked out easy peasy, perfectly fine. If you failed to do that, everybody in the raid would die within a matter of seconds. It was that simple, and it's amazing because somebody had to figure that out. And then it was easy for you because they just told you and you were done with it, and you had to just literally do what they were saying. But it takes a lot of trial and error. It takes a lot of raids that wiped hour after hour, level after level of losing. Want to sell green silken drape, 100 platinum, or 32 crush bone belts. 100 platinum. That's a lot of platinum. 9 stamina, 9 dexterity, 3 intelligence, 8 AC for your chest, 15 versus poison. Medium, it's necro, wizard, mage, enchanter, human, elf, high elf, dwarf, gnome, and iskar. That would be pretty cool for my necro, but I don't have 100 platinum. That's pretty high for this zone. I guess they're hoping for a twink in here somewhere with a high level. character who can trade. But yeah, I didn't mean to stop my comment, but you know, when something cool shows up, I like to show you guys, because this may not be the price that is in the future. You guys may be literally watching this, you know, 5-10 years down the road after I've made this video. This game could be super old by the time you actually stumble upon these recordings and be like, whoa, you know, this guy sounds like he's really big into this game. Why would he ever play this when you have virtual reality? Well, we don't have it yet. It's on the horizon, not out yet. And when it does come out, I'll probably still be playing games like this, except I'll be living the character in VR and not watching a three-dimensional representation of my guy. Because I can't wait for VR. That's going to be the greatest thing in the world when that stuff finally comes out, I think. And for those who are like, oh, well, you know, people need to get off the couch and do something, you can't get more than off the couch and doing something than playing like a war game in virtual reality, or trying to you know, run up a hill with all this armor on, if they can ever actually manage to simulate that in such a way. And I think they could if they come up with like a treadmill floor that moved and, you know, somehow made it where it wasn't, you know, such a start and stop startling sensation when you actually did stop and start. But I don't know. You guys will have to let me know what your opinions on VR are. Have you actually ever been in one? I actually did one way back when I was like, what was that, like 8 or 9, and I was at the Galleria here in Houston, and they had one of the arcades there. Yeah. Arcade, super old, I know. But they actually had an arcade there, and they had a display model. I talked about this before on one of my episodes, but I got to try it for about 3 minutes for like 25 bucks or something along those lines, and it was amazing even back then. But it's expensive. Oh, great. This is not what I need at 40% power. With 3 of them beating on me. Move away a little bit. Should be fine. I keep forgetting what level everybody is. I've been here for so long at so many different levels, I forget that when we get a big fight like this, our group can actually handle it. Whereas other groups I've been in would literally have everybody wiping within a couple of seconds of taking something like this on. So it really just depends on your level and the group makeup. And I think we're going to go ahead and end the episode after this fight, guys. I want to thank you for watching. If you like these videos, please hit the like button, subscribe. It definitely helps my channel grow every time you guys do that. There's a few game companies, or more than a few, I should say, that won't even let you review or let's play their games unless you have a certain amount of subscribers. It's unfortunate, but that's just the case. So if you want to see me do more videos in the future, I definitely would appreciate you guys hitting those buttons and helping me out. Again, I want to thank you guys for watching, regardless of whether you put those buttons or not. I like the fact that you guys are enjoying these videos. So if you get a second and you want to hit me up and write a comment down below, let me know what you guys enjoy, what you don't, what you want to see in the future, you know, anything like that, zones, mobs, things you want to see more often. You want to see me play more in first person than third person, so you can get a better view of some of these mobs up close. Do you want to see me play my paladin more than my cleric, things of that sort. Just go ahead and hit it down below, and I'll definitely do those videos for you guys. Again, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video, guys.